Okay, fam, how are you? This is the Reverend Dr. Claude A. Sinclair. We're going to start a series on relationships, because relationships is everything. But I'm going to break this down into 30-minute segments because it seems the attention span is, and I don't want it to be too low, but we're going to raise the bar. So we're not going to be all the way at the basement. So you're gonna have to stand up a little bit to increase your attention span, and that's what the whole program is designed. We start off small, but we want to create giants in the end. So let's get started here. So this topic that I want to talk about today is getting out of your own way. I've talked to a lot of people, and recently is the mindset that we have about what we've been indoctrinated into, what our generational experiences have been. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And we're probably going to break it down into a series. I don't know how many 30-minute segments this will lead into, but probably at least 4 or 5. But it's going to be, we're going to try to break it down into different segments. But what I come to think of it, what I'll do is, because I'm going to put this on YouTube, is you can stop it and start again. But hopefully it won't be that long. So let me stop. Let me get to the point here. So today we want to talk about getting out of our own way. Getting out of our own way and develop a millionaire mindset. I know everybody these days, everybody's talking about a millionaire mindset, what millionaires do, the habits of millionaires. But the only habit that matters is yours. And how do you find your way to good habits? Because habits are basically a combination of disciplines that you've developed in your life that are productive, that cause you to move forward in your life over time. So time is going to pass no matter what. We're ready to face a new year. The years go by so quickly. So for you not to do anything with your life to better yourself, especially these days with the economy and society becoming more sophisticated and complicated, and everybody's thinking about making money, but nobody's thinking about how do I maximize the money that I do have and make that grow, and how I can add to that and still enjoying life and having quality relationships. So what I want to show you, we're going to develop through this process, is that the relationship is the most important thing, because when you don't have any money, it's the relationships that get you through. And you don't want to have, burnt too many bridges along the way, so you don't have anybody to look back to or call on, or necessarily have, you know, any way to save yourself. Sometimes you just have to save yourself. And I had a saying when I was growing up, that I wanted to always be in shape because I like to be active and outdoors, and I always would tell myself that I don't want to die because I was not able to save my own life. So I would stay in shape just in case I was in such a situation. Because when I was younger, and I was a student at UCLA, a bunch of us were on the beach, hanging out, and I was out there in the ocean, just kicking it around, and all of a sudden this wave came and hit me on the back of the head, and before you knew it, I was under the waves, spinning around. And I saw seaweeds floating around and so forth. And I remember seeing this program where the person got caught up in the seaweeds and drowned, and all this stuff's flashing through my head, right? So eventually I got my bearings and I made it to the top, and I was pretty far out there in the water there. I'm like, wait a minute, and nobody noticed. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I had to. And I also remembered, okay, don't get caught up in this current because you'll end up in Alaska and get eaten by some shark, right? So I got my bearings, and thank God I knew how to swim. So I cut across the current. It took me a little while. I got back to the beach, And that was so many years ago. I never got back in that water again. But the amazing thing is that no one ever noticed, and no one was there to come to my aid, and I had to save my own life. So I always had that mindset that I don't want to be in a situation that I'm going to die because of me. Right? And the same thing of life. I don't want to be a failure because of me. I don't want to get in my own way. So we're going to talk about getting out of our way today and develop a millionaire mindset. And that's just a combination of good habits. All right. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. So let's talk about it. And also, well, we'll talk about that a little later. So it's all about relationships. And it's this ministry that I have. It's 3 prongs, and we'll get into that a little later in a few minutes. But it's designed to make you the best person that you can be. And I grew up in the church, and after student in school, I would study religion, and I've listened to probably 1,000 sermons. And then I look at the communities and look at the people, and then I prayed to God, give me some wisdom here so I can be able to create my own thing, do my own thing. I don't want to just be reading with other people and following other people. So that's how this program was created, because I prayed to God for wisdom. And then younger, when I committed myself to God, I asked him to remove the burden that was on me at the time. And then years later, and I told him, I said, hey, man, I commit my life to you. I put my life in your hands. So he said, hey, bet. And then decades later, I heard that voice saying, hey, you remember the promise you made to me? All right. So I want you to go work for me. And then at that time, I prayed to God for wisdom and said, hey, guide my path. So that's why we're here today. And I hope that you give this an opportunity. I consider this a 21st century ministry in personal growth and professional development. And basically it's the teachings of Jesus the Christ, who told us that we will do even greater things than he, and that the kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. So basically and treat others as you would have them to treat yourself, in the backdrop of God's commandments. So everything the whole ministry and what I do is guided by those principles. And those are the lessons that we can develop on a different day. But when you go through the orientation program, I'd like you to go through the orientation, because it will give you a perspective on your spiritual centeredness. Because I believe a lot of the problems that we're having in society today is because, and it's scriptural. It says, without a vision, the people perish. And I know a lot of the problems that we're having in our communities and in society because we don't have a vision. We don't have a purpose. So we're living random lives, and we just living day by day. We get up and we do what we do and we go to sleep, and we don't have a purpose. And even those parents who have children, the children are wandering through life without a purpose. Without a purpose. So, a lot of those are then the problems that we have in society are symptoms of that major problem, is lack of purpose. So let's talk about these things for a moment. And I hope you can relax and stick with me for a while. And I remember when I was in law school. And in law school, you have so many different choices to choose from for making it through law school, studying so you can pass the bar. There's literally hundreds. I wouldn't probably say hundreds, maybe, you get 50, so many different sources that you could be looking on, but each one has its little specialty, and they cut the subject down in a different way. But when I decided, okay, I'm going to use this material, maybe another for reference, I'm going to use this approach and not jumping from this to that, and just stick to this system here and stay focused, and allow them to train me in the law, and that will allow me to make it to the end and pass the bar. So when I decided to do that, Um, the results speak for themselves. And so the reason I'm bringing that up, because now we have our attention span is so short. We surfing the web. It's just like looky-loos, looking over somebody else's fence to see how green it is. We just jumping from one place to another, and we don't have focus. Looking at some of the stats and so forth. 6 seconds, spending 6 seconds on a website. I've redesigned mine a little bit, and now it's up to 8 seconds. So I'm like, okay, I'm moving in a positive direction here. But let's settle down for a minute. We're just moving too fast. We're moving too fast. We're not able to make a commitment. So let's settle down, and this program will take you where you need to go, from poverty to riches. If you're not in poverty, and I've had clients that were wealthy, I've had clients that weren't so wealthy. And the wealthy clients have the same bad habits as the lesser income earning clients, if you will. They just have more money and they have bigger toys, but their spending habits are just as poor. Their investments and savings is just as poor. Once you reach a certain dollar amount, you can't really help but save money, because you can only spend so much. But that really doesn't stop a lot of people. They just spend more. Okay, enough of that. All right, let's first of all, let me explain what my company, Boardwalk Management and Investment Group, is all about. Boardwalk Management and Investment Group, it's a personal growth and professional development company. And people ask, well, why should I choose you? There are plenty of other people who do what you do, financial planning type clients and educational gurus. And I would just say, well, that's simply not true. First of all, you never looked at my website, and you don't even know what my business model was all about. So you're just saying stuff. And I would think, I'm like, what a crab in a barrel point of view. Instead of asking, what can I do to help you to be successful? And that's what we want to do. And we want to help each other be successful. It's like we just have these built-in self-destructive habits. It's like the person with a major legal problem that requires litigation. And if you have to go before a judge and litigate, you need an attorney. But what is the person, the average, below average person do? Is that they'll find that street hustler. They find that person that's sleeping on the law library steps, that's looking for clients, right? And the reason they do this is because, and it could be a case where it's on a contingency fee basis, where an attorney doesn't get paid until they win the case. But they don't want to pay that 33%. So they want to do the case themselves. Which is mind-boggling. For example, and the same thing, and I draw the analogy, and I created some notes here for this discussion. We might get ahead of myself, but you're being dollar wise and penny foolish. Because when you do that, most likely you're going to lose, and you're going to be overly frustrated, right? And the paralegal, bless their hearts, they submit some rambling stuff to the court, and they never stood before a judge before, so they really don't have a clue. Because even you go to law school and you run the law, and then you look at the statutes, the judges don't even follow the statute. And especially if you're a person of color, I experienced that. They just tell you to screw off, and you know what you got to do, which means file an appeal. This is the most ridiculous thing there is, but that's just the way the system works. So the best thing is not to end up in the courthouse in the first place, right? But the person who chooses to get a paralegal because they don't want to pay that 33% fee just doesn't make sense. You're going to get more money, right? you're going to get more money. So I don't want to get ahead of myself.